What's up, everybody? Welcome to S.W.A.T MMA, where we're smoking weed and talking mixed martial arts. This is episode number 75. My name is Jarrod, and I am here with Paul.
What up?
We're coming to you from the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the results of the UFC Las Vegas 10. We're going to take a look ahead to number 11, which sees Colby Covington take on Tyrone Woodley in a long-anticipated grudge match at 170 pounds. We're going to take a look at the results of the back-to-back Bellator events, 245, 246. We're going to touch on the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships and some boxing news as well. But before we get into all of that stuff, grab your weed, fire it up, and let's get started with our weed of the week.
Smoke weed every day.
All right, today we are smoking on two different kinds of flower. We have still got some of the Gorilla Glue number 4, and we've got a new one in the mix today, some Animal Face, which is a little bit more of a rare strain. This is my first time trying it. It's a cross of Face Off OG, which is actually named after that John Travolta, Nicolas Cage Face Off movie, because it's supposed to be so potent. Face Off, crossed with Animal Mints. Which I haven't smoked Animal Mints before either. That's a 3-way cross of Animal Cookies, Girl Scout Cookies, and Blue Power. Now, what I find interesting is all of these strains here are indica dominant, yet all the information I could find on this strain says it is a rare sativa dominant hybrid.
That's weird. Maybe like mutate.
So maybe that's just the way the phenotypes came out with it. I don't know. Maybe there's some wrong information online. But I don't really believe that, because everybody knows that if you read something online,
it's true.
That shit is true as it gets, my guy. We've also got some good concentrates today in our packs 3. We've got a mixture of Skittles THC diamonds, and then we've added some Diamond OG CBD diamonds into the mix as well, at about a 2/3 ratio THC to CBD mixture. So that should get us feeling good. If you don't know, mixing your CBD in with your THC gives a nice synergistic effect, brings out a lot more effects from your THC. If you get the mixture too, like close to 50-50 or slanted the other way, with CBD greater than the THC, then it'll tend to make you a lot more sleepy.
Yeah, it makes sense.
For sure. All right, I got to hit this. Actually, I'm going to hit this pack while this
Hit them both.
Yes,
and
sir.
let's dive right into it. So, over the weekend, we had UFC Vegas 10. Originally was set to be headlined by Thiago Santos versus Glover Teixeira.
That was
A little bit of mix up at the week before. So we got, in the main event, we got Angela Hill taking on the Karate Hottie, Michelle Watterson.
That's at 115 pounds,
115,
right?
yeah. Really, really good fight, honestly. Very active. Both of them coming with, not throwing one, but throwing 3 at a time, and a lot of landed shots. I personally had Angela winning the fight, but I can't necessarily say that it was all Angela or anything like that. Every round was just so active. Both girls were just so in the fight the whole time. I just thought Angela got the better, more cleaner shots, but I mean, when you're talking about a 48-47 decision, one way, and then the split is 48-47 also, it's like, it's a coin flip. It is what it is.
It's hard to get mad about the fight. I agree with you, Paul. I thought Angela did great. I thought she did a little bit more damage. She seemed to be landing the harder punches. I think she said it all after the fight when she said she needs to mix in a little bit more takedowns.
That's the thing, is the fight never really like, there were some grappling exchanges, but never was like really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was, I can see what she means. Whereas like when it's that close and it's that, it's a neck and neck the whole time, a takedown or two in there would definitely possibly sway one way or the other.
This is a tough loss for her. That's back-to-back split decisions that I feel both should have gone her way. I thought she beat Claudia Gadelia in her last fight.
2 fights ago, but yeah.
2 fights ago now. And I also thought she won the other night as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
But she did call out Claudia for a rematch.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think it does as well. Because she's coming off the loss to Namajunas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is good. I don't think Angela Hill really loses a lot of shine.
No,
here.
not Cadilla. Cadilla didn't fight Nami Yunus. That was fucking. Never mind. Never mind. That wasn't her though.
Well, this is smoking weed and talking mixed martial arts, and honestly, we don't have notes on that fight in front of us. So I'm gonna turn this PAX off actually because that shit is getting a little toasty. Either way, I don't think Angela loses any shine here. She looked really great in the fight, and everybody knows Michelle Watterson is, a top-class competitor.
Yeah.
So when you lose a close fight, that was a coin flip, like you said, either way. It is what it is on her record, but I think she deserves another premier matchup. So
Yeah, for sure.
as far as Michelle Watterson, I don't really know what this fight does for her.
Well, she's kind of in an obscure spot because, she kind of made her case for a possible title match, which Dana was like, not really all in on it. So he gives her Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and she just kind of got dominated. It wasn't really much of a – I thought Joanna looked great in that fight.
Yeah, that was a nice bounce back for her. She was in need of that.
And so then you kind of get knocked down, and then she lost to what is her name? Homegirl that wrestled my brother. What's her name?
Carla Esparza.
Carla Esparza, where it was the same situation where it wasn't a ton of action, but her grappling controlled the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So then you lose there, and then you come here and you win against Angela Hill. So I kind of just think that she stays where she's at. I think she retained her ranking, kind of one of those situations. But I think this sets her up for a fight against someone ranked ahead of her for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think she needs to take another fight with anybody ranked underneath her at this point.
I think that's about that for that fight, but a good performance from both ladies. They got fight of the night, so they both leave $50,000 richer, which sure. That's good for them.
Yep.
There's controversy in one of the fights. We had Ed Herman taking on Mike Rodriguez.
Ed Herman ultimately wins by Kimura in the third round.
But not without a bit of noise. Yeah.
Which I definitely agree with. So let's fast forward a bit. So the fight begins. Oh yeah, rewind. Duh. But the fight begins. Rodriguez is generally winning the fight. He's hitting with big shots.
Yeah.
So I think he won the first round. Go into the second, and then he hits him with one big knee, which looked kind of low, but wasn't.
Yeah, they're
low.
coming in against the cage.
Yeah.
He hits Herman with a knee to the belly, although it initially it looked like a nut shot.
Yeah,
but no, nothing from the ref. Or anything.
Nothing from the ref, and then he pulls him over at the clinch and hits him with another knee that was clearly not a low blow. Hit him literally in the solar plex.
Admittedly, from the camera angle that we originally saw, it did look like a low blow.
It's because he hit him
from
in the solar
where
plex.
the ref was standing. I'm certain it did as well.
Yeah.
However, on the replay, it clearly landed not even in the low stomach, in the upper
it was
stomach,
literally in his chest.
Yeah.
And so this knee knocks Herman down, and as Rodriguez is going for the finish, the ref goes, stop, and Rodriguez goes, stop what?
yeah. The ref jumps in the middle, and you can hear Rodriguez say, stop what, why?
Yeah.
And then
so he gives him a moment.
He calls it a nut shot. Herman falls on his face a little, grabs his nuts once. Yeah. And honestly, man, I can't fault the guy here because
it's a good sell, but it is what it is. That's
what happens in all sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And unlike other sports, we're talking about guys who, if they lose half of their pay.
Yeah. So that's the issue here. So when we go back to this fight,
which comes into play here in two different instances.
Yeah, exactly.
It justifies, in my mind, Herman. I mean, A, everybody does it in all sports.
100%.
And B, he's literally getting a chance here to get half his pay.
Recover,
he probably thought the fucking fight was over.
He was done.
And then he realizes the ref is giving him a second chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Because he got rocked
from
those fucking body shots.
Should have been over.
It should have been over. So then Ed gets some time to, rest, get his wits back. And so he comes back in and then, survives the round, goes into the third.
Guy. He gets his stuff back. His nuts aren't on fire, so he's okay.
Gets to the third. He gets taken down in the third and then sinks in a Kimura, rolls through, and freaking was damn near broke his arm.
It was a beautiful Kimura. Yeah. I mean, he was on the bottom, getting ground and pounded, and he snatches that arm, and then he holds on to it for a while, and then winds up rolling over, reversing with it,
and
then had it so far up that old boy's back. It was It was hurting for a long time
Yeah.
before that tap happened.
Yeah, there's definitely some damage there.
And then, of course, the fight is over, and now you've got, clear footage showing it should have been over in the second round, but a clear submission victory in the third round.
Yeah.
And, of course, Mike Rodriguez's team says they're going to protest it, as they should. It's not going to get overturned.
No, it's not going to
This
get
is Nevada.
overturned. But
Nothing gets overturned.
the biggest thing, though, here is Dana White comes out after, and he says that he also agrees and thinks it was bullshit and is going to pay Rodriguez his win bonus as well as
God.
Ed Herman his win bonus. So at the end of the day, it really works out for the both of them. Sure, it is what happens, but
Yeah, it's going to go on Rodriguez's record as a loss, but the UFC is not going to give two shits about that.
Yeah.
And more importantly, the man got his money that he should have earned by being victorious in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Ed Herman shouldn't be penalized for a referee mistake and then having the grit to come back and win with just a nasty Kimura. I mean, that was very well executed.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's, for the most part, a good ending.
Yeah.
I guess Rodriguez is hurt a little bit more because he does take the L, and Herman is boosted a little bit more because he does get the W.
Yeah, but you can't.
whatever,
You have no
man.
one to blame but yourself at that point because you let him come back and you let him Kimura you.
Yeah,
So,
this
you
is,
know what I mean? Like,
and the referee, look, man, shit happens. I'm not
Yeah.
that pissed off at him because
it was bad. That was
UFC
Steve
decided to
Mozgatti-esque.
make it
I
right.
agree with Dana. That was
It was.
Mozgatti shit.
It was a bad mistake.
Yeah.
And it highlights the fact that I don't understand why we can't just check instant replays.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what you would have done.
Well, here's the thing. Well, no, they should have because technically, had he not paused the fight, wouldn't you consider that a fight-ending sequence? Isn't the rule behind it that you can only use replay during a fight-ending sequence?
This is true, but, Nevada, in all the wisdom of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they're a very wisdomous organization. They're doing a hybrid of the rules here. They're using a mixture of the old rules and a mixture of the new rules when it comes to fighting. So who knows what they're doing with instant replay? They're making it up as they go here.
Damn.
So who knows?
Yeah, because if you use instant replay in that case, I would definitely. Well, here's the thing. First of all, I think the corner needs to protest a little bit more the judge's decision and be like, whoa, get over here. Come look at the monitor. You know what I mean? That's all they would need to do. I don't know what the UFC's rules on cornermen doing that kind of shit because it's not the same as it's not the same as a coach in football or basketball, coming to the scores table and protest and going, hey, get over here. Come look at the instant replay. It's not the same thing, because a fighter's corner, I don't know if maybe they could have done something more, but I think they should have somehow got the judge's attention and tried to use the use of instant replay. I mean, isn't that what it's there for?
I think if they didn't use it in that instance, then they weren't using it. And
you know what I'm saying, though? Because
you can't allow the corner. I mean, I see your point, and I
Yeah.
agree with it, but I also see the fact you just can't have the fighters' cornermen approaching judges.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dana would treat that just like he treated Dan
That's
Hardy.
that's what I'm
approaching a
saying.
ref,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
That can be
Exactly.
intimidating.
Yeah.
We're talking about fighters for the most
That's why
part.
I think they need to
So,
institute some kind of in wrestling because that happens. That's how you how you go to switch a call in wrestling. You just go to the scores table, but if they do this other thing now, in college, where you have a block and you toss it out onto the mat.
Okay.
I wonder if they could institute something like that in MMA, some kind of flag or a block or something that's
something where they could review things.
well,
and say,
here's
hey,
the thing:
we want to
something that
review
if
on
it
this.
hits somebody, it's not going to hurt someone either. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing is in wrestling, coaches have gotten thrown out and shit for throwing the block at referees. But you know what I'm saying?
I follow you.
The use of something like that, because I feel like there should be some kind of way you can protest a call. That's that's sports.
I agree
that's
completely.
sports. Football, you have a challenge flag, and baseball they have replay, and basketball they've got replay now. All these major sports have replay, and then you have replay also, and you're just not going to use it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, the problem, you look at things like the NFL has a governing set of rules that everybody agrees
Yeah,
to,
true.
no matter what state they're
True.
playing in, where MMA is this back-asswards BS,
Yeah.
where each individual locality chooses what rules they're going to follow, what
Yeah.
rules they don't follow, and the only thing that closely resembles a governing body put out a new set of rules that included at least some use of instant replay.
And
But you have states,
yeah.
even such as Nevada, which right here in Nevada, we're supposed to be the best. This is supposed to be the best commission. We set the standard that other commissions look for. And what are we doing here? These fools are making a hybrid set of rules and following their own made-up bullshit, basically. Imagine if they did that in the NFL. In some states, you had some rules and a mixture of other rules, but then when you played in somebody else's state, the rules were slightly different.
Welcome to Broncos
and players
Stadium,
are
where every
supposed to
touchdown
know.
you score is actually 5 points.
Right, and it's up
Like-
to the players
like,
to
well,
remember
what?
the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they'll
yeah.
be penalized.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
But
But-
because of that, we're never going to get
Yeah.
a uniformity on something as
With that
simple
aside,
as
everything
instant
ends up
replay.
working out in this situation.
Yep, thankfully.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another highlight of that card, and then we'll
This
skip
one was
ahead
on
here.
the undercard, but this is a fight that was rescheduled. Originally was going to be on the main card of 2 weekends ago. I think it was UFC Vegas 8. But it was Jalen Turner taking on Brock Weaver, two up-and-coming Dana White Contender Series prospects.
What weight class was that in? I missed that
lightweight,
fight. I saw the
lightweight.
highlights that you're
Yeah.
about to talk about, but I didn't get to see that
155.
fight. 155ers, nice.
Yup. So, real close fight, sort of. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was
It was close, and then
close,
something
but
happened.
it was close, but it was a lot of Brock Weaver like being tough is why it was close.
He's
you know
a
what I
tough
mean?
guy, but
Because Turner was turning up on him, and so then he hits him with the most disgusting freaking overhand right. and
Turner
drops
lands it
him.
on Weaver?
Yeah, drops Weaver, and then stands over him and tells him to get up.
yeah, he thought it was a walk-off KO.
Yeah.
And the referee
Was like,
or
"Keep
Dean
going."
was like, no, keep going.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, get up. Yeah, he didn't even want to jump
And
on
then
him.
as soon as he gets up, he takes him down and chokes him out.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Why didn't you just jump on him and choke him out then? But it was a
But-
sick
Another great win
knockdown.
for
right there.
Turner. He's now 3-1 in the UFC,
Yep,
I believe.
I do believe so as well.
He's one of those guys from Dana White Contender Series that's really worked out for them. Brock Weaver as well, though. He's had some good fights. I mean, he's had ups and
entertaining.
downs. He's entertaining. He's in the show, and he's always down. That's what you got to like about that kid. You know.
And that's the
A
kind
lot
of
of
thing
these-
that'll keep him in the UFC a while. Dana
Oh,
loves
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Well,
So-
with Dana passing out all these contracts, a lot of these guys are gonna have to make names for themselves because before, when it was like the season 1 and 2 guys like Sean O'Malley and I think Ricky Simone was on there and like, a couple of different guys like that, those guys got big because they were like the 10 Dana White Contender Series guys from the series, like in the UFC. With him signing like all 5 guys from every single card, like. People aren't going to remember these names as well. Like, you
No.
know, these people are going to, a lot of these guys are going to have to make names for themselves.
I hope we don't get the details on any of these, but I hope these guys are signing short fight contracts because I just have a feeling they're probably the UFC
Like
is signing them to some
developmental deal.
Well, just something more like a 3-fight deal, not like I always think of the Ultimate Fighter, and these guys come out of here and you remember they used to sell it as they get a 6-figure contract. Yeah. Well, they get like a 5 or 6 fight deal that pays like $20K a fight, or a 10-10 and 20 if you win.
Yeah.
That's their 6 fight, and 6 fights is a long career in the UFC when you're getting max of 3 a year in most cases.
Yeah.
So man, and that might stretch you out 3 years making chump change in the fight game. And
That's why you got to make a name.
I'm
for
assuming
yourself
that these guys are doing the same type of thing here because it's cheap labor coming off of Tough, or I mean off of
Dana White Contender
the
Series.
Contender Series. Yeah, I mean either way it was cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping these guys are getting like 3-fight deals instead. So
Probably.
in case they do blow up, they can make more money.
Well, here's the thing: is the fight game has become this thing where if you're an up and coming prospect, you'll sign your 4 or 5 fight deal, but you're going to negotiate after your second fight if
Yeah,
you
but
have
you can't
two
always
knockouts.
do that like we think you can. But look at Paige Van Zandt, what was revealed about
Yeah,
her
true.
contract afterwards, where she was on the same fucking pay as she signed when she was 18 or whatever. And over what, 6 years, she made $400,000 before taxes.
The difference between
Whoop-de-woo.
here's the deal. Although I agree with you, like on that level, the difference between her and the difference between one of these other guys is if these guys are fighting top 15, top 5 in the world on 4 or 5 fight contracts, they're not going to fight under that same deal. Like,
I don't know.
although-
I don't think they have the leverage they used to before the ESPN deal. You just
I
don't
still
see
think
guys
they do
doing
have
it.
at least the leverage that if they're fighting inside the top 15 to have some kind
I
of
mean, look at
boost.
Masvidal. He tried to get leverage, and they were like, nah, until they absolutely had to give him a fucking fight because of what COVID pulled him out. And then they finally give in.
Yeah, but I'm saying these guys who are on the Contender Series are the guys that are the ones filling in for these COVID fights. So they're probably hooking up a good amount of them pretty solidly.
I hope so. I just don't have a lot of faith in the UFC. But it is good they're getting in there and getting some fighters going. But that's about it for the UFC Vegas 10 card. I mean, there was some okay fights. Hopefully that main event that fell out will get rescheduled. Don't have any news on that as of yet.
Yeah.
But let's bounce ahead here before we get into Bellator and talk about the upcoming card here from Vegas. The wonderfully named UFC Vegas Fight Night 11. But we do have Woodley versus Covington in a 170 match that honestly should have happened a while ago, but hell, it's finally here. We've got an overall decent card in comparison to a lot of weak cards we've had in the past. The co-main has Donald Cerrone versus Nico Price, which is a great fight. And there's some others that we will get into. But first, let's talk about Tyron Woodley, who frankly is in dire need of a win.
Yeah.
Taking on Colby Covington, who...
Actually, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go from the bottom to the top.
Colby Covington, who is the type of person who can whoop his ass like his
I
last
agree
two.
with
But let's do that.
But yeah, let's go
down at the bottom.
Let's go from the bottom to the top. So first, to start off the main card, which is a fucking big main card, first of all. Let's just get that out there. There's what, 6 fights?
6 fights on the main card.
6 fights
right
main
now.
card.
We know how these things can sometimes fall out.
And how we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks, how these cards have been pretty light up to, what was that, 2 weeks ago? We only had 7 fights in a whole card.
Yeah, so many fell out fight week.
Yeah. So just to start at the bottom, we got Kevin Holland taking on Darren Stewart. The dentist coming back to the bubble, you know.
That's a 170.
Yeah. Kevin Holland, another Dana White Contender Series guy.
I don't know much about Kevin Holland. I am familiar with the dentist's work.
Yeah, I like Kevin Holland actually a lot. He's real good. But yeah, I don't know. Darren Stewart is just an established member of this roster at this point. And I
Very
feel like
dangerous guy.
yeah, in his last fight too, he looked great.
That he did.
So I don't know.
I
I'm
like
probably
Darren
gonna
Stewart here.
I'm gonna take Stewart, but I would not be surprised if Holland shocks some people. And then just heading back on up, we got Mackenzie Dern taking on Randa Marcos. Another big fight. Mackenzie Dern starting to get into that like upper echelon of 125.
Yeah, Randa Marcos has a lot more experience than some of her last opponents have. I mean, she was on the tough
I mean, she's
season.
ranked 15th.
Yeah, she's from Tough that had the Ronda Rousey season. Ronda Rousey. So she's been around for a long time, but she hasn't gotten a lot of fights, you know.
She's fought some big names, though.
She has fought some big names when she's fought, though. And she's a solid competitor. Mackenzie
I
Dern.
think this is a big chance for Mackenzie Dern to really get herself into the conversation, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? This is her.
Yeah, if she gets
her
beat
launch
here, then
pad.
that says a lot.
Yeah, this is her launch pad fight, you know.
I'm not sold on Mackenzie yet. She's got a lot of potential. We'll see.
Yeah, her striking is still pretty weak, but her jiu-jitsu is just...
Well, yeah, that goes
Is
without
what it
saying. Her
is.
jiu-jitsu's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But we're long past the days of the UFC where that just gets you a title.
True.
But, I don't know if Randa Marcos is the one to stop it yet, though. She might be. It's a good fight.
Who are you taking?
I'm going to pick Marcos.
Taking Dern.
Just because I'm not sold on Mackenzie Dern yet.
And then next fight is there's going to be some fireworks in this one. This one could easily get knockout of the night on either side. We got Ryan Spann taking on Johnny Walker. Which is
Return
just,
to the light heavyweight division.
oh my goodness. It's going to be this is going to be 2 guys looking to knock each other's heads off, dude. Talk about 2 guys who look to finish the fight. You know what I mean?
Hopefully, Johnny Walker has just a little bit more restraint than he usually does and gets the win here. But sometimes he goes a little overboard
I
and
don't
leaves
know. I think
himself.
Spann, if you push
wide
Spann
open.
hard enough, you might be able to catch him slipping. You
They
know
both
what I mean?
pack a lot of skill.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think Johnny Walker's going to take that one.
Yeah, I like Johnny Walker. All right, in this next fight, we're going to talk about. There's a little bit of controversy here that we'll talk about it surrounding this fight this whole week as well. So we got Khamzat Chimaev, or however you say his name, versus Jarrod Paul. So here's the problem here.
Mirshar, this is at 170.
170 is Khamzat.
Controversial guy there, that first Chimaev.
Yeah, so he's, he was the quickest guy to ever win 2 fights in a row. Like, and now he's also been booked twice in a row. He's booked for this fight and to fight Damian Maia in October. That's just, historically, I'm just going to be honest, that just doesn't ever seem to work out.
Dude, Mirshar's a tough guy.
Mirshard is, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Whether he's a tough guy or not, that'll light a fire in a guy fucking overlooking him that much that you literally scheduled the guy's next fight before this.
Yeah, I heard Dana say, well, that's just the only way we could do it. Oh, stop. You're Dana White. You can do it however you want to.
Yeah.
He's the de facto runner of the whole show now. I mean, Lorenzo and Frank used to at least give input. I mean, these fucking, I think now Dana does what he wants.
Yeah, for sure.
He could do it.
I'm looking for the upset. I want
Paul,
Mirshard to win.
I want Mirshard to win too. Look, I don't like
just for the UFC to have an egg on their face for just being disrespectful, just because I don't even know. Here's the thing: I don't know if Mirshard has enough talent to really beat him, and that's not even where I'm going with this pick. I just want the UFC to understand that it doesn't matter that this game is made. This game is made for upsets like this. You know what I mean? Like, you can't disrespect a guy like that. When you're fighting someone, you're fighting someone. We'll figure it out the next day. That's always his answer, right? Well, then what's the difference on this fight here, I just think it's disrespectful.
I really hope Mirshard wins here. I don't like the other guy, Chimaev. If I'm mispronouncing his name, honestly, I don't care. I don't like him. He does things outside of the octagon that I can't possibly support. That, when we started this podcast, it was because we got annoyed with politics infiltrating MMA nonstop. So I'm not going to bring up what he does, except or the things that he supposedly supports. But it's just shit I can't get behind, and I can't root for him at all. And I hope he gets knocked silly.
I just think it's just bad.
And I agree with everything
that
you said
press,
about the UFC.
It's just bad press to do that to a guy. Like, come on.
I mean,
This is MMA. Anything can happen. Whether you feel like this guy is the next star, the next Khabib, the next whatever you think he's gonna be, it doesn't matter. You can't just. That's just disrespectful to double book someone, because it just means that you literally feel like Mirshard's just a placeholder for you guys to collect the check off and then move forward. You know what I'm saying?
It's a bad look all the way around with this fight. I don't understand the UFC's policies on things, and I don't understand MMA journalism's policies on things. I mean, you have certain reporters that report everything that happens, but they don't seem to be very mainstream. Like, Chimaev's associations outside of MMA have been reported on pretty extensively by like a handful of guys, like Mike Russell and Kareem Zadim, or however you say his name. Zadim. But Dana doesn't seem to care. But yet MMA outlets, for example, will take other fighters that have completely unproven things that just are heresy, and they'll blow it up all over MMA media. Yeah. Well, you have fighters in their own words saying, like, dude, if an American fighter did that, they'd probably get booted from the effing UFC. Like, if somebody like Colby Covington supported shit that like this guy does and said shit that this guy does outside of the MMA, he'd be gone, dude. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand, and I find that disturbing to me in this sport. And I don't get it, and that's why there's no sense in talking about what it is. It's just, I guess the UFC doesn't give a fuck about things like that, and I guess most MMA journalists don't either. Some do, but I guess that's just. It's weird, man.
Yeah, it's weird as
It's
fuck.
weird. Like, the UFC does certain things well. Like, they're quick to remove any suspected, these days, like guys that come over from the Eastern Bloc that got like neo-Nazi ties and skinhead ties. Like there's been a handful here in the past couple of years that as soon as the UFC found out, they were like, you got to go.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to like these other things, they turn a blind eye. It's weird.
Yeah. It is weird.
But back to the fight, we both agree we hope he loses for different reasons, but ultimately because the UFC has been extremely disrespectful to Jarrod Mearshart, who's a talented fighter.
Yeah.
And
who also dethroned their boy Darren Wynn not a couple months ago, you know? So it is what it is.
what if this guy just comes out and mows him down and then comes out and mows down Damon Maia in 2 weeks? I mean, he's without a doubt a skilled fighter from what we've seen so far, but on the flip side, those first two guys he's fought in the UFC
well, if he does that, then he's right
level,
in. Man. Yeah. The first two guys he did that to are trash. Like this will be a fight.
I mean,
and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If he does do that, then he's in the picture. He's right in the picture, and then we're really gonna see how great his grappling and everything is because welterweight is grappling everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just everyone.
At the top end, there's no way to avoid extremely good grapplers.
This is 170 or 185 because he's fought at both weight classes.
I'm not certain because he's bouncing
Either
around.
way,
The reason
even
I don't know is because he bounces. Yeah, he did both.
Yeah,
so
he
I
did
don't
both.
Know.
So shit. Well, either way,
he's ultimately going to be a 170er, I do believe. But with the short notice shit, he
yeah.
might be doing this at 185 and next week at 170 or
yeah,
next
because
fight.
Damien's definitely not fighting 85.
No, Damon's fucking Damien's.
Yeah, so
170.
maybe he's fighting 85 here and 70 next, but whatever.
Whatever.
Moving on to the next fight, which is just a fucking barn burner. This is without a doubt going to be fight of the night, in my opinion. We got Donald Cerrone taking on Nico Price, which are just two guys who love violence.
Yeah, that's a fight.
It's going to be a violent fight.
I heard Cerrone's back to sparring
Twice
two times a week.
Yep.
Really working on his slips and dips and evasive
He better be ready for that,
defensive maneuvering.
Because Nico does some crazy shit.
That's good, but Nico's a very unique fighter, yes.
Well, here's
a lot
the
of
thing.
angles.
He's coming off another fight of the night performance with him and Vicente Luque, where he unfortunately took the L, but he was every bit in that fight when the doctor stopped it. That fight was fucking craziness.
It was an excellent fight.
Craziness. Yeah. And so is this Donald going back to 70 then, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a really
Cerrone's
good
in need of a good performance here.
Nico is, though, too.
Much as I love
he's
the
up
guy,
and down.
one of
I'm
my
taking
favorite
Price.
all-time fighters. Yeah, I think Price is going to win.
I think Price is
Hope
going to
I'm
win
wrong.
because his size. I think his size is going to be a problem. Like, when Cerrone fights a lot of these 155ers and a lot of these younger 70-pounders, he kind of gets a little bit of the size advantage. And, but historically, whenever you see him fight someone like, whether it be Darren Till or someone like a Nico Price, that has, a little bit more size on him, he tends to struggle. So,
Indeed.
I think Nico wins.
Me too. Cerrone's as game as it gets. There's nobody in the UFC more down to fight than Donald Cerrone.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Cerrone pulled it out either.
And he could. It's not incapable. Of
No,
winning,
not at all.
But I just think we're both on track here with Nico Price. But that brings us to the main event.
Long time coming.
Very dangerous fight for Tyron Woodley, fighting Colby Covington, who, I mean, we saw him and Usman, fight all the way to that fifth round before Usman sealed the deal, in a very close battle. Colby's a volume striker with excellent wrestling on a guy that should normally be able to handle that, but now has shown us in back-to-back fights just getting overwhelmed and outclassed for 10 straight rounds. Is this where he bounces back, Paul, or is he going to be fucking 15 straight rounds of ass
Let me ask
whipped?
you this, though. Let me ask you this. So, when faced with adversity in the media and in the octagon in the Usman fight, did he use that same pace in wrestling that got him there?
Who?
Colby Covington. No, he didn't use it. He didn't when
Adversity in the media?
No, I'm just saying him and like all the bad blood between him and Usman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How they were like it was a real emotional fight going in and throughout. And I feel like in a lot of aspects, I feel like Colby kind of let his emotions get the best of him, and I feel like that's where Usman took advantage of him inside the fight. Is like he didn't really do what he did against
Well, no,
Robbie
that fight
and what
was
he did.
4-4 going into the final
Yeah,
round.
yeah, but no, I'm saying what like
Or 2-2,
he didn't
I mean.
he never the way he got knocked out basically or finished or however whoever sees it.
He got TKO'd.
Yeah. He never stretches out like that. He never throws those huge shots. That's not a part of his game. His
I
game
agree.
is usually, his game is to jab straight, jab straight, jab straight, jab straight, take you down.
Yeah,
you
he's
know what I
got
mean?
pretty
And
tight
then,
boxing.
but as soon as Usman started hitting him and then hit him with that big shot that who knows if it broke his jaw or not. He says it didn't, but the people say it did, and everyone who's ever seen someone whose jaw broke says that's what it looks like when your jaw's broke. But so my point is that if he gets into a situation like this with Woodley, is he going to go in there and try to tear Woodley's head off, or is he going to try to go in there and stick the game plan and stick to what he got him there? Because I feel like that's what is between Colby Covington being the champion and being a guy who's just really good, because his emotions get the best of him at the end of the day. If he would have fought how he fights the whole way through against Usman, I think he probably could have got away with the victory. But he let his emotions get the best of him, and as soon as he saw adversity, he tried to take Usman out, and then ultimately got himself taken out. Is he going to go into this fight against Woodley and go, all right, Woodley, we've talked so much shit, we hate each other, this, that, and the other, I'm just going to go in there and finish him? You know what I mean? Because if you do that, Tyron Woodley, although is shot, his right hand off the cage is never going to be shot. I don't care how old
Power's
he
the
gets.
last thing to go.
Yeah.
And he's not that old.
No.
He's just coming off 10 of the worst rounds he's ever fought in his career, and
His
he's
timing is
42.
Yeah.
Is he 42?
Yeah. He's lost
I
a lot
mean-
of his timing. His power's still there, because if you watch in the Gilbert fight, although he'd lost all those rounds, he did tag Gilbert a few times and had him bleeding as well. So that's the thing, is like, I would expect Colby to go in there, and if he sticks to the game plan, get it done. But if his emotions get the best of him and he tries to fight him like he fought Usman, it could be a situation where we see him get finished by Woodley, and Woodley gets shot right back into the conversation.
I think Colby Covington's going to come in and put on a 5-round beatdown, and
That's
Tyron
what I would
Woodley's going to
expect.
retire.
That's what I would expect. I don't know about retiring.
I don't mean any disrespect to Woodley, but I mean, just look at the facts. Look at his last
Yeah.
10 rounds of fighting.
Yeah.
There's not anything good to say. Then you look at his age. He's had a great run. He's right up there with probably the second best UFC welterweight around if he retires. A second
Yeah.
to St. Pierre right now.
Probably, yeah.
You know,
He's got the second longest
so it's
reign
not
ever.
it's not bad on him, but you just hit a point where it's over.
Yeah.
And I think it's over. And I think he showed that in the Gilbert Burns fight. And I think this wasn't the time for this. If this would have happened a couple years ago, I think Woodley would have had a lot more chance to win here. But
Yeah.
now you've got Covington, who's just gotten better and better in my mind. Even though he lost, against Usman, he's looked really damn good in his fights.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I can see that happening. I just think emotionally he needs to keep his cool. and
I think he will,
happen.
because there hasn't been a lot of media buildup in this one. I mean, there was
Yeah.
heat between them,
Yeah.
but now it's old.
Well, we'll
and
see.
faded,
We'll see during
you know?
fight week though, because now there's going to be because of this whole COVID thing. We didn't get a press conference. We didn't get that. We didn't get this. What is it going to be like on fight week when they go to weigh in and they got to face off, and
Right.
things start to heat up?
We'll find out. It's going to be a good fight nonetheless. I think it's still a good fight if Colby beats
Yeah.
him down, because I just think this is mixed
It's
martial
part of-
arts.
yeah, it's
It's a
part of the
changing
game.
of the guard.
Yeah,
It's part of the game. I mean, the old get eaten by the young,
it's just what
and
it
it
is. Yeah.
sucks when it happens, and only the really lucky ones get to retire and
Yep.
ride off with championships. I mean, look, you got to respect guys like Cejudo, who can take
Yeah.
both those belts and peace out with them, and
Because
not
a
have
lot
to
of
go
people
out
say, they hang
like
on.
Woodley, who's an amazing champion.
So, quick question though: what do you think of this whole thing about Tyron Woodley now going to like a mental coach and changing camps and training with George Masvidal and doing all that? What do you think of all that though?
I think those are all smart things to do.
Yeah.
But that
But-
doesn't I mean, if you were younger, maybe.
Yeah.
I just there's a point where it's just
Of diminished returns, yeah. I guess. But here's
you can't
the problem.
fight time.
Yeah. Here's the problem, though. He hasn't necessarily really ever looked physically outmatched. It just looks like mentally he's never there. Like, if you look in those last 2 fights, did it ever look like it was like, oh, he's holding Tyron down and there's nothing Tyron can do about it?
Well, he's
just
a strong, athletic competitor.
Yeah,
for sure.
he was just, exactly. Like, in the perfect example is like in the Usman fight when everyone was like, man, Usman hit him with the most body shots in UFC history. And then you go and you look at the fight and you watch in the fight, Tyron is just sitting in over-under, looking at the camera with a blank face, while Usman is just literally like kidney punching, like little kid status, like punching him in the ribs. Like, it was just weird. And the same thing happened during the Burns fight. It was just 2 situations where it was like, what the fuck? Like, it just never looked like he was there. Like, he looked like he was physically there, but mentally, like, he was just gone. And, like, there's these, I've seen a couple of them, like, now, but there's these compilations of fucking shots of Woodley's face during these fights, and he's just...
Yeah, he doesn't look...
He just looks like he's not in it. And, like, that's what I wonder is, like, if he is doing this whole mental coach thing, and, you know, they talk about, like, a lot of guys in kickboxing and stuff go with that guy that was on Joe Rogan. I can't think of his name. Vinny Shorman.
Yeah.
They always go to him for help, and I think Tyron said he spent a little bit of time with him. So I wonder what kind of, like, because I've heard some cool shit with him and, what was that, the kickboxer that was on there too? Whatever. But, like, they have, like, trigger words where, like...
yeah, I saw that as well. Yes,
Yeah.
the trigger words. Yeah.
I wonder if Tyron has, like, similar kind of things, and if he'll be doing a kind of shit like that, because honestly, man, like, I agree with you 100% that this could be just like Father Time catching up with him, but I have a hard time thinking that when I just look back at these fights and he just never looked like he was outmatched physically or like technically. It just looked like he just didn't want to be there ever. Like it's hard to explain.
Well, that happens too. That's another way of losing it, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
yeah,
especially when you've been a champion, a long defending, you make some good money. I mean, this ain't boxing. They're not riding off multimillionaires here, but you should be doing okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll find out if the mental coach works or if it's over. I think this fight spells it all out for us. There's really not any
Even if he
question.
does lose his fight, though, I don't think it'll be over. I think he still fights Diaz if he loses his fight.
He's angling for that now with all the respect he's throwing to Nick Diaz, which we talked about last week with his comeback. But let's switch now out of UFC mode. There was some back-to-back Bellator events here since our last episode. We had a Friday night and then a Saturday night that ultimately put out a lot of entertaining fights. Yep. On Friday night was Bellator 245, which was headlined by a 205 match with Phil Davis and Lyoto Machida. And Phil Davis winds up winning by split decision.
Yep.
Machida looked a lot better than I expected, honestly.
Yeah, but ultimately it really just came down to Phil Davis's grappling. Phil Davis just...
I had it for Davis. I thought he pulled it off.
Yeah, it was just... I just feel like he got into a situation where maybe he knew he wasn't going to beat Lyoto Machida on the feet. He was just like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's going to do what he does best.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what a smart fighter should do.
Well, and I feel like he did wait it out a little bit. You know, he did. I feel like he spent a little bit of time of losing that fight.
Yeah, he did
really
because he was trying
that.
to keep it on the feet. But
yeah.
Look, for a guy who's such a great wrestler, Phil Davis's striking is pretty decent.
Yeah.
But it's not fucking Lyoto Machida's. Lyoto Machida's
I don't care how
still
old
on
he is.
another level. He can still strike. I mean, it doesn't matter how old he is. He's still got great skills there. Yeah. And that was a bad idea. But ultimately, he did what he had to do. He pulls out a win, which sets him up to fight
Vladimir Nemkov.
Yes, for the title. So,
which is a rematch as well.
Yes.
Of another split decision where I thought Phil Davis won.
So this should be good. Yeah, I like where that's going to go. There was some other UFC stars in action over the weekend as well. But let's just jump to the next card real quick, and then we'll talk about some of the other fights we liked with them. But the next fight, the main event, was a title bout for the 135 bantamweight vacant title. We saw Juan Archuleta versus Patchy Mix, and Archuleta gets the win here.
Yep, close fight also though. Another one where like I feel like Mix was, I don't know, it was pretty close.
It was very close.
I
He
feel
did
like
quite well. He's a
both
skilled
guys
fighter.
were just so active. You
That
know
was
what I
my
mean?
first time
It's
really
crazy.
seeing Mix fight, and he
Yeah.
did much better than I thought he would. I originally thought Archuleta was going to do a
Wow,
little more
run
handily.
through. Yeah, I think they could run that back if Mix wins another fight, or they could just do it again if there's really no other contenders. But
overall
actually, no,
entertaining.
there is a couple of contenders because now you got your boy Pettis, Sergio.
Yep,
coming
Sergio. Absolutely. I think they want to get him into a title shot here.
That's what they were saying, yeah. So I think he is going to probably fight Archuleta next.
I like that fight. That'd be very entertaining.
Yeah, Archuleta is fucking interesting, man. He's
Very.
one of those guys who just like he'll be fighting so conventional 1 second, and then he'll just pull out some crazy flying back fist knee, some bullshit like that. You're like, what the
Absolutely.
fuck is going on?
And
he's like controlled in the chaos. You know what I mean?
And his camp is very, very good. I mean, he's training every day with TJ Dillashaw, who
Yeah.
you can say what you want about what he did or how he is personally. He is an excellent
he's still a great
fighter.
fighter, yeah.
And as the saying goes, steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens
Oh,
iron,
yeah.
whatever. Like he's very, very blessed to be able to spar with a guy like that, yet not worry about having to fight him because
yeah.
they're in two separate leagues. So
For sure. And that gives that camp an incentive also that you have two of the, or probably the 1 and number 2 best guys in the weight class in the world
Yeah,
going up against
exactly.
each other in the gym every day.
yes.
You know what I mean? It
So
only makes it better.
I love Pettis, but for now, I'd favor Archuleta in this potential fight coming up. But I expect it to be really, really good.
Well, here's the thing: is like Pettis was in a weird spot when he left the UFC. He was in a situation where he was a 125er without a doubt.
which
he
played
just came
into
off.
it with
Yeah,
the
he had just
controversy
came
of
off a
that.
win against Joseph Benavidez, and then all this shit happened at 125.
Yeah,
where
keep the division, ditch
keep
the
the division,
They
ditch it.
cut
So then he goes
a ton
up to
of fighters.
35, and then he loses his first fight at 35, and then they go, well, we're keeping the division. So then he moves back to 25, picks up a W, and then he goes back up, and then like it was just a situation where it was just too much uncertainty, I feel like, for him. So then he moves to Bellator, who doesn't have a 125-pound division. I feel like he really has gotten a chance to fill his body out to fit the weight class. And I feel like
Yes,
in his first
and that's
fight
important.
against Ricky Bandejas, he really looked like a new, not necessarily new and improved, but like where he was at 125 is where his like skill set is at 135 at this point now.
That makes a big difference when you can just stay at a weight class, especially the smaller you get.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about more and more of a percentage of your body.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
So good for him. I like him better at that weight class.
Yeah, so I think that sets
And
up
I think it'll be a
a
great
big fight.
but,
Big fight,
you know,
yeah.
Like we're talking about, we're in Vegas. We're talking about potential bets. If we were betting here, I'd be betting Archuleta. But we'll see. That's a great. We don't have it made
be
yet
too biased.
as of this recording, but we all expect that to be what's coming.
Yeah. And then then in the co-main event we had Neiman Gracie taking on John Fitch, where it was just,
Two.
grappler's delight.
Yes.
Ultimately, Neiman Gracie ends up securing I think it was a heel hook and
It
taps
was.
John Fitch. And then John Fitch at the end leaves his gloves in the octagon and retires from mixed martial arts.
43 years old. John Fitch been around a long time in a tough division. These
He's
aren't
fought
like
everywhere.
heavyweights,
He's
man.
fought everywhere. He's fought UFC, Bellator, World Series, PFL. He's done it all.
Yep, and these aren't heavyweights. The only division you can get away with being that old and still fighting in the UFC, where the best of the best, for the most part,
Yeah,
is still there.
Middleweight, you're not. Gonna
and
have
not the
able to
UFC.
do
I mean, he's in Bellator now,
Yeah.
but the same thing matters. He's fighting top-notch, top-level fighters.
that.
and,
Yeah, especially
you know,
middle. He's coming off of a title shot. in
Yeah,
middleweight,
Roy
basically,
McDonald,
Yeah,
where
in a fight where a lot of people, including myself, thought he won.
I mean that wound up being a draw, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Either
Tie
way, that
goes
was a
to the
tough
champion.
fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, the thing is, when you look at John Fitch, do you consider him Like, where do you see him? Like, do you think in a couple of years from now the UFC will be calling him to put him in the Hall of Fame?
The UFC after
Yeah.
Dana White's
The
comments
whole
about
thing?
John Fitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Wait.
but he said that they have that has blown over a bit, and they've like talked it over before. But I don't know. You never know. My thing is he's still like historically he's been in some of the biggest fights
You
at
know,
middleweight.
I don't think he goes into the UFC Hall of No, we're not talking about
welterweight.
deserve here. I think he deserves to be. But Dana White's not going to do that.
Nah,
No.
I meant welterweight, not middleweight. Sorry.
Yeah. But Dana White famously said that basically that when sleeping medication needs to fall asleep, it watches a John Fitch fight.
Hey, but you can't deny his fucking his success though.
Which is all. That's why he got. I mean, when he got cut from the UFC,
That's why
he
there
was,
needs to be
top
like an
5?
MM. Like that's the thing is like in basketball, it's like the basketball. It's not an NBA Hall of Fame. It's a Naismith Hall of Fame. So any
Right.
player from Europe, America, anywhere could get
It's a separate
inducted.
entity.
Yeah. And the NFL, it's not the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
where
mean?
the
So-
UFC's Hall of Fame is a little. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the
so,
only
like,
MMA Hall of Fame.
That's
there
what I'm
is, and it's
saying.
pretty
As of right now,
suspect,
there's
but
only like they need to get something generated because there's some good
We
good
should start
fighters
one.
that you know what I mean. Let's do
You know
it.
what I mean? Let's do it. We'll start an unofficial.
Unofficial Hall of Fame.
We'll include everybody. We're right here in Vegas. We'll hand out awards.
Hall of Fame.
We're
Get
on it.
A minute. Get gold jackets.
It'll
But
be
you know what I'm
SWAT
saying, though?
Hall of Fame. Everybody will come in. We'll smoke up. And we'll announce the winner.
We'll announce the winner. Well, you know what I'm saying though. It's like the UFC has a Hall of Fame, but there's no necessarily like guidelines as far as it. There's no like in the NFL or NBA, you got to be like 5 years out of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in MMA, there's nothing like that.
And that's why Fitch ain't gonna get in there.
That's
We had some other UFC fighters, former UFC fighters, on the card who I was excited to see. Kat Zingano made her UFC or her Bellator debut. It's weird saying that still. But
I know she won that fight, but that was close at the end.
Yeah,
she
fought
came
for
out
it.
and she
Girl came
she
back
wins
in
the
the
first
third.
round. She wins the first round. The second round almost finishes her, and the third she almost gets finished.
Yeah, that was
like
close.
it was fucking.
She got the win there. Definitely 2 rounds to 1, but
Yeah.
it was tough. But she really deserved to get a win there. We were talking about it last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it came through. So hopefully that's a little bit of a mental hurdle for her.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll see what happens next.
Another UFC vet as well, Liz Carmouche,
Hmm.
also goes in and wins by unanimous decision. More of a dominant win for sure for her. 3 rounds to none.
Liz is going to be tough to beat
she's
over
tough.
there, man.
Yeah, she's hella tough.
She is someone who should be in the UFC right now. I think Kat should as well, but whatever. Hopefully they can make more money where they're at. But Liz is going to tear through that 125 division.
It's going to be tough, though, because that 125 division is also led by her training partner, Lee Malay McFarland.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to deal with that, but that's one of the reasons I think she has a good chance to win it, just because she knows her well enough because they train all the time.
Maybe.
We'll see. Interesting stuff going on though in Bellator.
Absolutely. So let's kick over to some boxing news real quick. So recently, there's been some talks of Vasiliy Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez fighting, and there was rumors that they had broke down and it wasn't going to happen, but now it has been confirmed for October 17th. Huge fight in the boxing world. A lot of people, maybe that are the casuals, don't really understand. But this is 100% going to be
This
the
is an
toughest.
incredible fight.
Yeah, this is going to be the toughest outing of Lomachenko's career, I believe.
100%. You and I have had our eye on Lopez for years. We wrote
Yeah.
about him for
Yep.
Slugfest magazine on multiple occasions. We've
Yep.
picked him in our boxing column on multiple occasions to win, which he has every time.
Every time, yeah.
And Lomachenko's going to have his hands full here. There are some people thinking it might be a little bit too soon for Lopez to get this shot, but I disagree. I think the time is now, and I'm very, very excited by this fight.
Yeah, huge fight.
I'm not going to make a prediction here right now.
Yeah, it's too
but,
close. But all I'm going to say is I do think that this will be the closest fight in Lomachenko's career.
Lopez has everything it takes to shock the world on this fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
So this is exciting to see. I think this is probably the biggest fight since the pandemic since boxing's
without
been
a doubt.
back that
Without
we're
a
getting
doubt.
here, and I can't wait. Honestly, I'm pretty. That's the biggest thing in combat sports for me, right now, leading into October, is that fight. The UFC doesn't have anything on the docket to match that one for me yet, but we'll see how the year plays out.
Something we didn't talk about before, but I want to talk about real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that Canelo Alvarez is suing his management team, including Oscar De La Hoya?
I did. I don't know the details, but I did hear this. Yes.
He said that he wins his fights in the courtroom and in the ring.
Oh man. Do you know any of the details on this?
Supposedly it's over this whole deal, the big deal he has.
He
with
didn't get all the
He's
money?
no, he's just not getting fights. Like, they won't get him fights. Like, all his big fights, the Billy Joe Saunders fight fell out, Callum Smith fight fell out. All the fights that were supposed to happen, even the third, or what would it be, the fourth Triple G fight, that fell out. Every fight that he's supposedly supposed to have has fallen out.
Well, is that why DAZN, which I read recently too, was supposedly seriously interested in both a Khabib Nurmagomedov fight and a Jorge Masvidal fight for Alvarez?
Yeah,
which
probably.
I just find outrageous. He'll
Just doesn't
murder
make
both
sense.
of
He'll
them.
kill them both,
Come on, man.
Yeah.
We don't need to make MMA guys look that bad.
Yeah, come on.
Like, Jesus.
We're talking about Canelo.
This ain't retired ass Floyd Mayweather and Conor
this
here.
is Canelo, yeah.
This is
Canelo
in his prime.
Yeah.
Canelo Alvarez, who, God bless both those guys, they'll kick his ass in MMA like he shouldn't be there either. But
Yeah.
good God.
Yeah, no.
But I heard there was serious interest in those fights. I guess that could be why.
Yeah, well, it would make sense. And then you got his own promoter talking about he's coming out of retirement to fight.
Yeah, Oscar De La
Jesus.
Hoya coming out to fight. Yeah,
It's like,
good
come
luck.
Come on.
He's not coming out in like exhibition style like Mike Tyson is. He says he's going to come out and fight for a title.
Yeah, no.
Fight a contender and get that title belt.
Well, funny you say that. Funny you say that. Is Mike Tyson did talk about recently on the Joe Rogan podcast that he was offered a fight against Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, man.
So he said the fights that were on the table were Shannon the Cannon Briggs, Tyson Fury, Bob Sapp,
Vanderlei, wasn't it?
and and then
No, that wasn't legit.
Roy Jones.
And Roy
obviously.
Jones, yeah. Dude, I like the Roy Jones fight. Makes the most sense there. We're talking about two guys. I mean, Roy Jones did fight much later. I mean, as recently as 2018.
Yeah.
But Mike Tyson, as awesome as he is, and as in shape as he looks, is 53 years old.
54.
Tyson Fury might be the best boxer on the planet right now,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and
What,
is
he's only
6'7".
He's only like 32.
Like, there was no 6'7" legit boxers in Tyson's heyday that
Well,
I can
here's
recall.
the problem. It would
6'9". He's
I
6'9".
guarantee you, I'll tell you exactly what fight it would go just like. It would go exactly what happened to him with Lennox Lewis. It would be the same thing.
Yeah, we don't
He
need to
would
see
just-
that. That's
He would
not.
just keep him on the outside and he'd pummel him.
That's not what Tyson's about right now, though. He's
Yeah,
about that
no.
Legends Only League.
Legends only.
Like,
yeah,
that's a
I'm
thing
down
I
with
can
that.
respect here.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man. That's what they should be fucking doing.
Yeah.
Tyson's
Supposedly
in
it's
his
gonna be
lane right
across
now.
all
Fighting Roy
sports,
Jones
too.
is in Tyson's lane right
Oh
now.
yeah, for sure.
And I think he's going to win that fight, too.
Yeah.
But title shots are not in Tyson's lane right now. And he's totally, he sees that,
Yeah.
and he's not. So I'm glad he didn't pick that fight, because that would have been awful. I don't want to see
That'd
the
have been
greatest,
crazy,
my
though.
favorite boxer of all time, who
But-
I have met, superhero to me, get his ass kicked by his namesake, Tyson Fury, my favorite current boxer. That'd be terrible.
That'd be suck.
Make
would
me
suck.
sad.
No.
So I'm glad Roy Jones' fight is on still.
Yeah.
Tyson is on
Moved
still.
to November 29th or something.
Yeah, they're trying to get a crowd up in there.
Yeah.
I respect
Well, he said
that.
He said also that he needed more time than he thought before.
Yeah, he
which
said
is
it was interesting.
understandable.
He was saying after that training with Rafael Cordero that he was like,
Dead.
dude, I couldn't get out of bed for like a week.
Yeah.
A
he
week,
said-
son.
So it's like the fucking every one of those videos
That's
were
real.
like those were fucking hurt after. He's like,
That's just his raw talent still
yeah,
popping
for
through.
sure.
Then, God
Oh
damn.
yeah, for sure.
But he's in shape now, dude. He looks
Yeah.
like a beast. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
It's back to eating
So,
meat and shit.
Yeah, he looks and he sounds like he's dialed in. He's talking about mental
So he's
shit
not
earlier.
even smoking weed anymore.
Yeah. He said he hadn't smoked weed in like 12, 13, 14 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Absolutely. I'm still excited about that fight. See, the Tyson Fury fight, I would be sad. We'd be discussing how sad I feel that this is happening. This is the opposite. I'm stoked. Let's see these two dudes do it. So, let's round it out with some other close to boxing, some BKFC. You know, we had BKFC's debut on DAZN over the weekend, which unfortunately the main event fell out for, as far as I know, it's just an injury, but Phil Baroni was scheduled to fight Thiago Alves, who was making his debut fresh from MMA.
Yeah.
I like that fight. You know, Phil's a little bit older, but this is something new. This is bare knuckle fighting. This isn't the UFC or Bellator or any other league for that matter that he really probably doesn't belong. So I was interested, but we had Julian Lane step in on short notice, who's probably most famous for his tough appearance. You know, where he was the let me bang, bro, guy.
Let me bang, bro.
So, you know, he's a meme out there somewhere, but he is actually quite talented fighter, and he does very well in bare knuckle.
Absolutely.
I think this was his like 7th or 8th appearance in BKFC, where he's put on a strong performance every time. And he came out and he took the L here on short notice, but it was a split decision.
Yeah.
Both guys look good. I'm excited to see them both fight again.
Yeah, for sure.
But there wasn't a lot of fireworks in that.
It was just more calculated.
Right. It was a little bit more calculated. A lot of experience there.
Yeah.
But we did have a pretty interesting co-main event.
Well, here's the thing, though, real quick.
Yeah.
Julian Lane, him just getting more fights than other people makes him better at bare knuckle fighting than a lot of these guys. He's able to bridge the gap a bit.
Absolutely.
Because he's had so much experience in there that he knows the ins and outs and the the little things that could score well for you on the cards of these judges more than maybe someone who's like Thiago Alves, who maybe has like a better career and was a better fighter than him, but at the end of the day he on that night he was they were at that same level because he was able to use all the experience he's had to really pull out a great performance.
This is, not to sound corny, but this is a new sport, and it is evolving right as it's happening. This is only their 12th event. There's nuances here that fighters are learning.
Yeah.
You know, like we watched a lot of the prelims on that together, and we were talking about all these looping punches that some of these guys are throwing, and then if we could just get somebody coming in with some serious 1-2s, they could do some damage. You know, throw some fucking uppercuts in there. You know, that from a boxing standpoint would not be wise, but the way everybody comes in,
it's like
looping,
a street fight. It's like a street fight.
It's a lot more like a street fight. And then we saw, later on, a couple guys score some serious knockouts with those 1-2s. Yeah. Those straight punches. And I think right now, in bare knuckle, straight punches are where it's at. And I think uppercuts are the next big thing. Not in close uppercuts. I'm talking about uppercuts from a distance. When somebody's coming in with these crazy looping punches, hitting that fucking jaw from a few feet out in a, like I said, the type of punch you could never get away with in boxing. But this ain't boxing. And it's not
different.
MMA.
It's so different.
It's something different here. And fighters are starting to figure it out. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I've liked every event that I've seen. And we'll see their next event sees the debut of a very interesting boxing prospect who's 7-0 in his boxing career, but never signed with any major promotions. And so he went over and signed with BKFC in the meantime while he's waiting on a deal. So we'll see what happens with that. And we'll discuss more of that, who that is and what he's bringing to the table as that approaches closer. But BKFC's got cool shit going on right now and in the future.
Yep. And then in the co-main event, we had Hector Lombard knocked out Kendall Grove in the first round, which is just...
That's at 205 pounds, too.
Yeah. Hector Lombard's got to be on the juice, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's why he's he knocked Kendall Grove, who won Tough 3 in the UFC. He's a good fighter, and he's got some experience in BKFC, but he got knocked down 3 times in the first round and then finished by 150 of a 2-minute round. And Hector Lombard just looked like a fucking beast.
Yeah, for sure.
So he might be a wrecking machine there. I didn't realize that this fight was at 205 pounds until fight night. Yeah. So very interesting stuff. BKFC, sure. I am definitely a fan.
Without a doubt.
So we'll see what's next. And I think that probably brings our show to a close for today.
Yep.
You You can catch us on all the major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are on WBUZ 95 Internet Radio as well, which you can find on the Orange Internet app and the Orange Radio app. Yep, and radio.net as well. All that information is where?
SWATMMA.com, where you can head over there, click the gear button, and support the podcast, guys.
We're getting back to smoking on these diamonds and CBD mixture. Hope you're puffing on the good stuff too, folks, and we will see you next week.
Peace.